Ever felt like someone loves you, but something feels off? Like they're more in love with an idea of you rather than who you really are? Love is beautiful, but sometimes what we think is love is just an illusion. People often fall for the fantasy of a person, the idealized version they've created in their minds. This happens a lot in new relationships, long-distance romances, or even when someone admires you from afar. But how do you know if it's real love or just a dream they're clinging to? Let's break it down. Signs. They're in love with the fantasy. So, how can you tell if someone is in love with you or just their own version of you? Here are some red flags. No one is perfect, but if they act like you are, that's a problem. If they never acknowledge your imperfections or brush off your mistakes like they don't exist, they might be seeing an illusion, not the real you. Do they build you up in their mind as the perfect partner? And when you don't behave exactly as they imagined, they act distant or frustrated. That's a sign they love their idea of you more than who you actually are. If they constantly shower you with praise, telling you you're perfect or everything they ever wanted, but barely know your interests, fears, or struggles, they're infatuated with an ideal, not a person. Do they talk more about the dream life you'll have together rather than actually understanding who you are? If they seem obsessed with the idea of being in love rather than truly connecting, it's a sign of fantasy-driven attachment, differentiating between love and fantasy. So how do we tell the difference between real love and a fantasy? True love isn't about perfection. It's about embracing imperfections. When someone truly loves you, they see both your strengths and weaknesses and accept you as you are. Infatuation is fast and intense, but real love takes time. It deepens with understanding, patience, and shared experiences. If the love feels too instant and idealized, it may be built on fantasy rather than reality. If they genuinely listen to you, understand your values, and respect your boundaries, that's real love. But if they're constantly projecting their desires onto you, they're in love with a version of you that only exists in their head. Self-reflection. Are you caught in a fantasy too? Now, let's flip the script. It's easy to recognize when someone is projecting a fantasy onto you, but have you ever done the same? Have you ever been attracted to someone because of who they could be rather than who they actually are? Maybe you think, once they open up more, they'll be perfect. Or if they just change this one thing, they'll be my dream partner. That's a sign you might be more in love with the idea of them than the real person. Do you crave the excitement, the butterflies, the rush of romance more than the actual connection? If the relationship feels more like a fantasy you're holding onto rather than something built on mutual understanding, it's worth reassessing. If you find yourself losing interest the moment they do something unexpected, something that doesn't fit the image in your head, you might not be in love with them, but with your own version of them. Being honest with yourself about this can help you build stronger, more genuine relationships, ones where both people feel truly seen and valued. What to do if you're in a fantasy-based relationship? Okay, so maybe you've realized that either you or your partner are caught up in a fantasy. What now? If you feel like your partner only sees a certain version of you, talk about it. Share your real thoughts, your fears, your flaws. See how they respond. True love should make space for the real you. Love isn't a movie. It's not always dramatic declarations and perfect moments. The strongest relationships are built on trust, patience, and accepting each other as whole, imperfect human beings. Real love develops over time. If everything feels too fast, too intense, or too picture perfect, take a step back. Let things unfold naturally and see if the connection deepens beyond the fantasy. The power of choosing real love. So, now that we know the difference between fantasy love and real love, here's the big question. How do we choose real love over illusion? Real love requires showing up as your true self, flaws, fears, and all. It's about being comfortable enough to say, "This is me," and knowing that's enough. Love shouldn't be about molding someone into your ideal partner. Instead, it should be about appreciating who they already are. If you catch yourself romanticizing a version of them that doesn't exist, take a step back and ask, am I in love with them, or just my expectations? Love isn't about finding a perfect person. It's about building something meaningful with someone who truly sees you. The strongest relationships aren't built on illusions, but on mutual growth, acceptance, and deep connection. At the end of the day, love isn't about perfection. It's about connection. If someone only loves the fantasy of you, that love won't last, because fantasies fade. But when someone sees you, flaws and all, and still chooses you, that's real. So ask yourself, are you being loved for who you truly are? And are you loving others for who they truly are? Because real love isn't about creating the perfect story. It's about writing one together, with all the ups and downs, the beauty, and the mess. If this video made you think, drop a comment below. Have you ever been in a fantasy-driven relationship? Let's talk about it. And if you found this helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more insights on love and relationships. Thanks for watching.